Okay, I'm back. I'm so sorry. That must have been the internet, I think. I popped a comment up. I'm hoping that you saw it, and I'm hoping that you're still here with me. So let me just see. It's so annoying when that happens. Okay, so I've got myself back up on my iPad. I can't yet see if you're still here. But yes, sometimes it's me that forgets to do things properly. Sometimes I don't, but it's me again. And unfortunately, I can't reconnect back into where I was when I'm on Facebook Live. It means starting all over again. So I hope that those of you that were with me a couple of minutes ago are still here, and that everything is going to continue to work okay and not mess me about this time. All right, so what was I saying? I was saying that the May Fancy Fold Cards class needs to be booked and by Friday of next week, which is the 29th, a week today. That's an in-person class running near me in Lymington. So I can see Maureen is back. Hooray. I'm sorry about that, Maureen. My internet just dropped out, and unfortunately it means I have to start all over again. I can't kind of just go back to where I was, if you like. It would be nice if there was just a little break and then I came back, but that doesn't normally happen unless it's very, very quick flicker of no internet and then it's back. Normally I have to restart. But thank you for coming back, Maureen. I can see Candy's here, and it looks like Kay is here as well, so you are very welcome, people. All right, so I'm going to put the camera down to my desk, which takes me just a little bit of fiddling around, so bear with me, and then we will do some crafting. Okay, so let's have a look. Let me do the magic buttons to make sure everything is up the right way. And then inevitably I will have to fiddle around just a little bit to make sure that what's in view is what you need to be seeing. But we'll try that and see how we are. Okay. So Mary's back. Hooray, Mary. So, I'm so sorry about the break. I don't know what went wrong, other than my internet just dropped out for a really short time, but it was enough to interrupt things. Belinda's here. Hooray. Okay, let's move that up and let's just straighten things slightly. Let's see if I turned everything the right way, and then we can get going. No, I didn't turn it the right way. Okay. Maybe it's that way. I'm one of those people, I think I've said this before. No, it's not. It's the other way. I have to turn the map, and I really struggle if I have to do things kind of back to front, which is what I'm having to do at the moment. But hopefully that will be a bit better. There we go. I think that's better. And Kay says good afternoon to everyone. Fantastic. Okay, so that's my contact details if you don't know them and you want to jot them down. So what are we doing today? We're going to be creating botanical cards, so plant themed cards with the really beautiful Artfully Composed suite. This is in the, I always want to call it the Spring and Summer catalogue. That's what we used to call it, the January to June catalogue. And it's on page 32, so I'll just show you very quickly. There we go. And I need my clip, don't I, to get rid of that cable. Can I see my clip? No, I can't. It must be over here somewhere. There we are. Okay. Let's clip that up out of the way. Otherwise, even if it's not annoying you, it's going to be annoying me. Hopefully I've got enough slack there that I'm not going to be pulling things off the desk. Will that work? Okay, I think that will. I'm trying not to squash the cable, but just to effectively clip it out of the way. Maybe I just need a bit of washi tape around it. Maybe I do actually. Let's try that. If you know me at all, you know that I love washi tape. So any excuse to use it. Right, let's try that. Let's washi tape that up out of the way. There we go, and hopefully it will be quick to take off when I need to move things in a minute. Right, okay, where was I? All right, so the Artfully Composed suite then. There are stamps and dies. There's some lovely printed vellum. These little sea glass shapes, they're not actually made of sea glass, but they look like it. If you've ever walked along a beach and picked up that lovely sort of matte finish glass that's been tumbled by the waves, then that's what these look like. Patterned paper and a very wide textured ribbon. So I'm going to show you those things in a little bit more detail, and then even if you can't see in detail the small pieces that I've cut up for my project, then you'll at least know what I'm talking about. So if you don't know, most months I offer a suite sampler. So I pick a suite from the catalogue. I buy and then split up the packs of items that make up the suite, and then you can just buy a sampling of them, so you can have a play, see what you like, and then the things that you really love you can buy a full-size pack of. Okay, so I usually add in some coordinating card. So there's some pale papaya, calypso coral, pear pizzazz, evening evergreen, and mint macaron card. So you'll get an A4 sheet of each of those. You'll get a quarter of a pack of the patterned paper. So that means you'll get 6 pieces which measure 6 inches by 12 inches. And I'll put them sideways actually, and then you'll be able to see a little bit more of them, I think. I'll show you both sides. So these have got a leaf print. There's actually some flowers as well. Is this Strelitzia, this one? I can't remember. Bird of paradise plant, anyway, flowers on there. And then on the back, typically they've got a plainer or a more textured side. Let's put it that way, actually, otherwise things are going to be sideways, aren't they? There we go. So the patterns on these are quite bold, but when they're cut up, they're really usable. So you've got a selection of leaves, mostly in greens, and then you've just got the odd touch of coral and bumblebee on there. Okay, so there's a quarter of a pack of paper, 5 sheets of A4 card. You'll get a quarter of a pack of the Vellum layering designs. So there are 3 designs, and you'll get 6 pieces of vellum in all. So you'll get one of each design in white print on the vellum, and that's pretty much impossible to show you. It's so pale, and I think even if I put it on a piece of dark card, I don't know how well that will show up. I'll lift that up and see, but you may still not be able to see the print, but the prints shows a little bit. The prints are exactly the same in the black as well, so you'll get them in black and you'll get them in white. So I'll show you the black ones. There is a map design. This is my favourite. These pieces of vellum again are 6 by 12 inches. There's typewritten columns, and if you read the writing, it's all about a garden, so it's sort of relevant to the theme of the suite. And then this one, which is handwritten sections of letters, and some of them go this way and some of them go that way. You'll get a metre of this textured ribbon. This is really lovely. It's got a soft feel to it, frayed edges, and it's ribbed along here. So I really like it for just adding a snippet to a card. It adds such lovely texture, but it would also be really nice for going around bags or boxes. And then finally the sea glass shapes. So you get a half a pack of these. Let me lift those up. And you have those in 3 colours. You've got mint macaron, pear pizzazz, and, well, I want to say clear, but they come across as white because it's like the tumbled sea glass. So 3 colours there. So there you are. So that is the details there. You've got until next Friday to order these. I know quite a few of you have already. If you can collect it from me, it's £13. And if I need to post it to you, which I'm very happy to do, then all I do is I add on postage at cost plus the cost of a board backed envelope. So if you'd like me to post it to you, it's £15.50. If you would like to order one, then just email me. Okay, so the cut-off for orders is next week, next Friday, and then I will order everything, I cut it up, I pack it, and I aim to post it to you on May the 27th. Sometimes I can get them out a little bit earlier, but I give myself a month because that accounts for any delays in shipping, anything that's out of stock, and I've got to wait for it to come in, and so on. Okay. Hazel is here. Hello, Hazel. It's lovely to have you with us. She says good afternoon to everyone. All right, so that is the sweet sampler. So I am going to take all those things and I'm going to make some cards with them. So let me move the sampler out of the way. Let me move the catalogue out of the way. Oh, I tell you what I will do. I'll just quickly show you the stamp set before I get started. And that is here. So you'll recognise that these images are repeated in the papers. This is a sort of a distressed typeface that you can use for adding backgrounds and kind of visual texture. And then the words are thank you, happiest birthday wishes, sending all the hugs, I really like that one, and hey there. Then the dies, you have two open dies. And if I pop them on here, you can see that they cut out the stamped images. This one will also cut out some of the cheese plant leaves on one of the sheets of patterned paper. And then you have 3 dies which will cut out outline shapes of leaves. I'll be using some of these so you'll be able to see those in action. This one cuts out little heart leaves, and then you've got an edging die which gives you a zigzag edge with some stitching. I'm hoping that's going to show. Think it's showing, yeah. And then 2 which add texture, so these perforate your card, they don't actually cut anything out, and I actually run those through just to show you. Let me put these back. So these are the two dies which add texture, so they are really nice to add some interest in the background if it just needs a little something. So I think you can see through to the white on my grid paper, so you can see they've perforated, but there's no outline, so nothing is actually cut out of your card, it's just kind of cut through in a pattern. So I really like those. All right, let me put those away so I'm not scrabbling around looking for one later that I've lost. Right, so now I will do some crafting. Right, let me pull up my project buckets. Oops, I don't think I've left myself enough lead. Hang on, I have to take this off and then I'll be back momentarily. There we are. I tied up so much lead with washi tape that I couldn't actually quite reach my project baskets. So I've used all the things which are in the sweet sampler, and I've added some stamping using that stamp set, and I've added a few die cuts as well. Right, so do you like to see the project before I make it, or do you like it to be a surprise? I don't think I've ever asked you that, so let me know. I'll drink some of my tea. Oh, and Anne is here. Hello, Anne. You're popping in for as long as you can. Well, I'm really glad you are, Anne. Thank you so much. I'm not sure what you've got to go off and do, but I'm very glad that we've got a short time with you this afternoon. So would you like to see a finished project first and then watch me make one? Or would you like it to be a surprise? That's what I want to know. So Hazel's saying a surprise. That works for me. Let's see if anybody else has got a comment, and if not, a surprise it will be. So I'm just getting out my bits and pieces here. I've got a thick white base, thick basic white base, a layer of shaded spruce card, a piece of basic white. I gave myself a spare, and it's just as well I did because I seem to have managed to put an inky smudge on that piece. Let's set that one aside. Kay is saying a surprise as well. Right, surprise it is then, ladies. All right. So I've got a piece of vellum. This is the white vellum. Let me just try and show you. It's the map pattern. I don't know how well it will show up on that. Yeah, it shows up a little bit. There we go. I've got a little strip of white, and I've got a piece of that lovely ribbon. All right, so I'm going to start off first of all with my piece of white card, and I'm going to stamp some leaves on it. So the colours I've got here are garden green, mossy meadow and shaded spruce. You could just use one colour of green. I'm sure you all know, but let me show you anyway, that if you use generational stamping, in other words, if you repeat stamp without re-inking, so I'll do it up the top here so I don't end up getting green all over the back of my card. So that's ink from the ink pad, but if I stamp again, it's a paler version. Stamp again, and I can probably get one more. There we are. So I've actually got four, can't count, 4 different versions of garden green there. So you could easily just use one green ink pad, whatever you've got or whatever your favourite is, and just do some stamping off. That would work instead of having several different ink pads. The only thing about stamping off is, let me pull in this piece, there we go, the one with the inky smudges on it. You might think that if you stamp a leaf on here like that, you can then carry on and stamp the next one and stamp the next one. That will be absolutely fine. That's pretty much what I just showed you at the top. However, if when you stamp your image, you're half off your card like that, what you can find is that where you stamped on your card, a lot of the ink has been removed from your stamp, but where you're over the edge, there's only a little bit. And if I now re-stamp this, instead of getting something like that, I get something like this. And I'm hoping that you can see, I'm waiting, my iPad hasn't caught up yet. I think you can see it, but I'll bring it closer just in case. So this image here, instead of getting an even paler green all over, I've got some much darker patches. And that is where the stamp went over the edge of the card. There's actually quite a straight line going down here. So what was on the card up here absorbed a lot of the ink. What was off the card edge didn't absorb very much ink at all on my grid paper. So if you want to do that, if you've stamped off the edge, what you need to do is re-ink your stamp, stamp it off on some scrap paper, nice and level, and then come to your project, and then you'll get a nice even coating of that lighter, less intense ink. All right, I hope I've explained that adequately. So I'm going to stamp some leaves, and I've got garden green, so let's start with garden green. So this is the cheese plant leaf, which I like. I've got a smudge there, but never mind. I'm going to cover that up anyway, so I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to clean that stamp because I'm going to change colour. And I'll shut that up because I always lean in the ink. I've got so many days where I have rested my elbow across the ink or my shirt sleeve, so let's not do that today. So this is shaded spruce, and I'm going to do one down there. Clean that stamp. I always take off the worst of the ink on my grid paper before I clean it on here, and that just means that I have to wash my scrub a little bit less often because there's a little bit less ink has come off on it. And then this is Mossy Meadow. So I've picked 3 different dark greens here, but you can use whatever you fancy or just one colour as I showed you. There we are. So I've stamped 3 leaves. Odd numbers are always good, aren't they? Clean that one again. All right, so now I'm going to put those pieces aside. I'm also going to put my vellum aside, and I'm going to bring in, this is just a scrap of card, I'm going to stamp in shaded spruce because that's the colour of my card layer, and I'm going to make this into a thank you card. You'll often see me make thank you cards because I always need thank you cards. Every time somebody orders with me, they receive a thank you card that I've made, and I send them for lots of other reasons as well. So I'm often making thank you cards, but the completed sample I've got to show you afterwards is a birthday version, so I will show you a birthday one too. All right, so this is the thank you from the matching stamp set. I'm just going to trim that down a little bit. I don't think I want it quite as long as that. There we are, and let's find my ribbon as well. All right, so I'm ready to assemble things now. So I'll glue my stamped layer onto my coloured card, so that's onto the shaded spruce layer. I think I'm just slightly off the edge of what you can see. Let's move that up a little bit. Get that central. The beauty of the multi-purpose glue is that my layer will slide, so if it didn't go down straight to start with, which it didn't, then I can slide it across so my borders are nice and even. There we are. Pop that down on there. Right, now I'm going to pop my vellum across the middle. Now, as you may know, glue tends to show through on vellum, but I'm going to add some more things over the top in the middle. So if I put my glue in the middle, I should find that it doesn't show after all. Now, there is some writing on this map, and I'm just trying to see which way up it is. There we are. It's so small that probably nobody is going to notice if I put it upside down, but I'll try and put it up the right way. And I'm using my stamping seal for this. I really like it for vellum particularly. It's just so easy to apply, and although it's not invisible, it's pretty much invisible. Certainly it shows less than any of the other glues. All right, so I've cut my vellum so that it goes right to the edge of that coloured layer, not to the white one, but that was just my thoughts of doing something slightly different. All right, so what I'm going to do is put my greeting onto the ribbon like that, and then I'll trim this off level. So I'm just looking at how I want that to sit, which I think is approximately like that. So glue dots are absolutely the best thing for holding ribbon onto card. So I've put some glue dots on the back of that. And I'm just going to pop that like that. So I've got a little bit here with no ribbon. And then I'm going to put this down and just check how much of that ribbon I want. I snipped a piece off, but I don't think I need quite as much as that. So that looks about right. This is very easy to cut straight because you've got the ribs to guide you. There we are. Okay, now this ribbon is actually quite thick. I don't know what that is, a millimetre or so. And if I glue it flat, I've kind of got a seesaw thing going on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue the ribbon to my card with glue dots because they're fantastic on ribbon. And then I could use dimensionals on here, which are thicker, but they are just a little bit too thick, and then I'm going to have kind of a seesaw going the other way. So what I'm actually going to do is put some glue dots along here, but put two in a little stack. And that will then give me just a little bit of extra depth, which I think will be enough to stop my sentiment having a bit of a lean on it. And usually the easiest way to get glue dots off is to press whatever you want the glue dot on onto the glue dot, and then to peel it off. One more there. Okay, so that's got glued up to my ribbon. I am also sticking them to my fingers, which doesn't help. All right, so I'm then going to put 2 at a time on the card. And that will just be a little bit more dimensional than ordinary glue, but not as thick or not as deep as a foam pad. So I'm just kind of looking down and sticking the second one in place. There we are. Right, so it did seem a little bit of a faff, but I think it's worth it. There we are. And my inky smudge is hidden, which is a very good thing. And then I can actually add a little bit more glue at the edge here. I didn't go right to the edge because I wasn't quite sure where my sentiment was going to go. And yeah, it's just a little bit more there. Just where it's going, the glue is going to be hidden by the ribbon or by the sentiment. There we are. And then the final touch is going to be some of those little sea glass shapes. I've got they're actually mint macaron, but because it's a slightly bluey green, I think it works really nicely with the shaded spruce. And these are very irregular shapes, which I think is fun. So let's pop some of those there. And then inside I'm just going to stamp a leaf. I'm using shaded spruce here, and I'm just going to stamp off once because that's quite an intense colour, and I'm not going to stamp a sentiment inside because then that leaves me space to stamp my to write my thank you message. So there we are. Let's lift that up and give you a little bit of a closer look. I really like the texture on this. You've got the vellum, you've got the ribbon, you've got the sea glass shapes. So although it's essentially a fairly straightforward card to make, I think it's quite interesting in visual terms, if you like. And I'll show you the other one that I made, because I usually have another one to show you with slightly different colours or arrangements. So I've kept the layout exactly the same. This time I've used garden green for the layer, and I've stamped in garden green, and I've made it into a birthday card. So I've put happiest birthday wishes on the front, and I've used the sending all the hugs inside. I really like that. So all those stamps are from the Artfully layered stamp set that I showed you at the beginning. So that is the first card then. I'm just going to clear up a little bit, and then I'll pull in the things for the second one. So I'm working on the premise that you would like to be surprised by that one as well, but if you would like to see it first, let me know. Although actually the second card, I think, is that the one? Yes, the second card actually is, there's more of a difference between the one I made earlier and the one I'm actually going to make now. So maybe I'll definitely keep that one as a surprise. All right, so let me pull in all my bits and pieces. I've got some very, very, very tiny die cut pieces here. There we go. Look how tiny those are. I think I've got more than I need because I'm bound to lose some on the floor. There we are. Those little tiny heart-shaped leaves. And I've got an evening evergreen ink pad here. I have a bumblebee card base. I think this was the last piece of bumblebee card in my craft room because I've been using it up because it's about to retire. I have an evening evergreen card layer, a piece of the patterned paper, And so I pulled out the bumblebee from these little heart-shaped leaves for my base, and for my layer the evening evergreen from these large leaves. And I've got a couple of die cuts. I've got the, oops, I'm going to lose those little ones, aren't I? Let's move those. I cut the cheese plant leaf in evening evergreen, and I don't know what kind of leaf this is. If you're a plant buff, let me know, but this one anyway in old olive, which is the same colour in there. So I've picked my ink, my card colours from my patterned paper. I've also picked my ink. I've got evening evergreen ink, and then I've got some white card for a sentiment strip here. So I'm just going to start by layering all those together. So I've got very narrow borders on this, but again that liquid glue means I can just slide things until they're straight. There we are. And when I cut these, I put adhesive sheets on the back. I think I've probably shown you those before, but they're 6 by 12 inches, and they're just a sheet of continual double-sided adhesive. So I usually cut a piece of card the size I want for my die, and then I lay it on here and cut round it like that. So we cut round there and round there. So I've got a small piece of the adhesive sheet, and then the backing paper is split in various places. So you can peel off the backing paper and lay your card on and stick the sheet to the back of your card. Then I die cut, and so I end up with the adhesive sheet cut exactly to the same shape, and then I can peel the backing off and stick it down. So for something like this, which is a really finely cut shape, it makes life much easier if I've got adhesive already on the back. So it turns my die cut into a sticker effectively. It's absolutely brilliant for any kind of die cutting. You can use it on your big die cuts as well, but I particularly like it for things like this. If you've got die cut sentiments, it's really good for those as well. It needs a really good press down, I find, but once it's down, it's brilliant. This one, I was using a scrap I got, but it's a little bit short. Can you see? There's no adhesive sheet on the end, so I'm going to have to add a little bit of glue on there. But that's okay, at least I haven't got to do the whole thing. Just have to pull that off a little bit carefully so you don't bend your die cut. Now, where isn't there any? Up there. The glue doesn't want to come out. You just give it a good squeeze away from my project. There we are. Okay, so I'm going to pop that one. Where am I going to pop that one? There, I think. So it's a busy paper, but you can see the die cuts, but equally they do kind of slightly merge with the background, which I'm happy with. I'm going to add some of these little tiny leaves, but I'm going to do that last. I'm going to put my sentiment on there first. So I'm going to use Evening Evergreen for that, and it is going to be another thank you, because those are the cards I need, but it would work just as well with a happy birthday. There we are. And once again, I'm going to trim that just a little bit. If it was a really narrow strip, I would probably use my scissors, but this is 3/4 of an inch wide, and I just find that I get a better, straighter line if I use my trimmer. All right, so I'm going to pop dimensionals on the back of that. And I want to add enough that it's going to be well supported, even if it gets sent through the post. Okay, so I'm going to pop that down there. And then I've got these tiny little leaves, which I also cut with the adhesive sheet on the back, so I'm hoping they will be easy to just kind of scatter around. They're very sweet, but they are very small. And where they're such a small shape, I don't think any of them have got the split in the backing paper to make it easy to peel off. Couple more of these, and then I'll just do a little bit of stamping on the insert. I think it cuts 7 at a time of these just with one die, which makes life a lot easier. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah. So let's put, ooh, there you go. A mind of its own. One up there. Okay, get rid of those little bits of backing paper into my bin. Oh no, there's another one. It obviously cuts 8 at a time. I'm going to use that 7. All right, and I have an insert for the inside. And I'm going to stamp that cheese plant leaf. Stamp it off once, just so it's not quite such a dark colour inside. And as it's a thank you card again, I'm just going to leave it blank inside other than the leaf, so that I can write in there what I'm saying thank you for. There we are. So let me hold that up a little bit closer for you. Slightly out of focus, isn't it? Let's move it down a weeny bit and hopefully it will focus nicely for you. And then I will show you another one I made, which is the same layout, but I did a different background. So I use lots of my bits of scrap card here. Thank you for the heart. Lovely to have a heart. I'm glad you like it. And if I lift that up a little more, I started off with a piece of white card, just a scrap, really. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Covered it with glue, and then I glued all these strips down. I glued the strips down at random. You can see they're different widths. And then once the glue had grabbed the strips, I just trimmed the excess off from around the edges. I've used a layer of patterned paper. So in this one I've used the patterned side, or the texture side, rather than the image side of the paper. And then I've glued it onto a coordinating card base. I've used 2 of the same shape of leaf for my die cuts. I've stamped on a little tiny scrap of the patterned paper there, and I used some of the sea glass shapes instead of the heart-shaped leaves. But other than that, it's essentially the same card. The sizes are the same. You've got a background with 2 die cut leaves and a little banner, and then a little scattering of something else for some more interest. So same card, but actually very, very different. So Marjorie's here. She lost the sound from the end of part 1. So have you got sound? Let me just type something in for Marjorie. Has everybody else got sound? Let me know. Okay, so somebody else, let me know if you can hear. Oh, Marjorie's saying it's okay now. Brilliant. Good, good. Delighted to hear that. Yeah, I'm sorry about at the end of part 1, Marjorie. My internet just cut out and I was gone, so I had to start again. And Kay's saying it's okay. Fantastic, thank you. Those of you who've been with me a long time will know I'm a bit twitchy about the sound because I've had such problems with Facebook not liking my external microphone, and the sound, if I just use my iPhone, is not very good at all. So we had weeks of not good sound. You're very welcome, Anne. Thank you. I'm glad you like the cards, Anne. Thank you very much. And Belinda's saying she can hear it too. Hooray. And Belinda is saying, hello, Marjorie. All right, I'm just going to quickly clean these stamps and then I have one more project for you. How are we doing for time? Not too bad, because I can ramble on. While I'm cleaning these, let me... well, I was going to say smile nicely. You can't actually see my face at the moment, but effectively smile nicely at you. And if you haven't done already, liking this or hearting it, putting a little heart sign, clicking on that and sharing it is really, really helpful for me. And if you're watching me later on, after I've been live, watching me on YouTube, then it's super helpful if you can like that, if you can leave a comment, because that means that YouTube know that what I'm doing is something that people are enjoying, and it shows me to more people, and that is really helpful for me. So I'm always grateful if you can do that. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, do subscribe, and then every time I put up a new video, you'll be told. So thank you in advance for doing that. It does help me such a lot. Right, so one final card here. 2 ink pads there, and I have actually written out the measurements for this, which I'll try and leave in shot while I start crafting, because I thought it might be helpful to you to know that. All right, so my card base is 8 inches by 5 3/4. They've all been that today. And I've scored it at 4 inches, folded it and just made a card. And my insert is 3 3/4 by 5.5 inches. I am an inches girl, I'm afraid. Then I've got a piece of the paper. It's got those leaves on one side, and I'm going to be using this green side. That's 3 3/4 of an inch by 5.5 inches as well. And I've got 2 bits of contrast card. This is 1 inch by 4.5 inches, and this is 1 3/4 of an inch by 4 1/4 inches. And I've got vellum in brackets there because I've used vellum on the second card, which I'll show you fully completed in a moment. Then I've got a piece of basic white card, 2.5 inches by 4 inches, and I haven't actually written on here, but I've also used a die cut circle. This is from the Layering Circles dies, and let me tell you how wide it is. It is almost 2 3/4 of an inch in diameter, not quite, but it's I guess it would be, let me have a look. Yeah, it's I'm trying to, yeah, it's it's more than 2 5/8, and it's not quite 2 3/4 of an inch. But if you measured your dies, then you would find out which one it was. Alrighty. So I'm going to stick my paper onto my card base. So the patterns on what I think of as the back of these papers are very, very usable, as you can see. They could be used on any card. It wouldn't have to be something that, that with the coordinating stamps. Then I'm going to bring in my white layer here, and I have some pale papaya ink here, and I'm going to bring in my script stamp. So this is from the same Artfully Layered stamp set, and I'm not sure if I've put that on there straight actually. I'm just going to line it up with my grid paper and just see if I've put that on there straight. Oh, it is straight, it just doesn't look it. Alright, so I'm going to stamp off once after I've inked the stamp, because I really only want just a little hint of pattern here, and then I'm going to try and keep this nice and straight. Stamp off again. Stamp off again. There we are. So it's just added a little bit of interest to that. My circle is going to go about here, so it's going to cover up some of that. So I'm just going to lay that on there and make sure I'm happy, and I am. I think that looks absolutely fine. Okay, so let's shut that up before I lean on it, and I'm going to pull in those 2 small pieces of coloured card. So I'm going to layer these up like this. So I've got a little bit of the green showing top and bottom, and a little bit of the pale papaya as well. So let me just stick those 2 together first. And I'm just going to try and make sure that that green piece is in the middle. I can use my grid paper to help me do that. And then I'm going to stick that to the back of my piece I've just stamped. I'm not doing precision gluing here, as you can see. And actually I should have been a little bit more precise, because I've got a bit of a blob there. There we are. Let's get rid of that. Okay, and so I have a similar problem with levels as I did on one of the earlier cards, in that this will kind of seesaw, because in the middle I've got 2 layers of card, and on the outer edges I've only got 1 layer. So this time I am going to use my dimensionals to help me with that, but I'm just going to put them down here on the white card, and they're actually going to be a little bit big for that. So let me see if I've got my mini ones handy. Yes, I have. So I'm going to use ordinary glue on the rest of the card, but dimensionals here. Now they are a little bit thicker than my triple layer of card I've got in the centre, but only by a bit, so I think they're going to work just fine. And as always, I use quite a lot of dimensionals because I really don't want anything sagging in the middle. None of us want anything sagging in the middle, do we? There we are. So Marjorie is saying hi to Belinda and hi to everyone. We are such a nice, friendly bunch of people here. Okay, so now take these little backing bits off. They seem to grip a little bit firmer than on the standard size of dimensionals. I don't know if that's just me. Okay, now I need to make sure I've got my writing up the right way. Again, it's not really legible, but I think you can tell if it ends up the wrong way. And I'm going to put this down towards the bottom right hand corner. There we are. And I'm just going to bring my adhesive eraser in on that bit where I had a blob of glue and get rid of that. If you haven't got one of these, you can find them on eBay. They're made of crepe rubber, and if you're using this multi-purpose adhesive, because it's a rubber-based glue, which incidentally is why it doesn't make your card warp, unlike PVA glue, which will make your card warp unless you're only using tiny amounts. Yeah, it just balls up the adhesive and pulls it off the card without hurting the surface of the card. We used to have them in the catalogue, but I think the trouble is that there's always more products to fit in the catalogue than we've got space for, so they only put in the things that sell really well. And because these rubbers last for years and years and years and years, once you bought one, nobody was needing to buy another one, so unfortunately we don't stock them anymore, but they're fantastic. So Belinda says she thinks sagging in the middle is the card making equivalent of Mary Berry soggy bottoms. I think you might be right, Belinda. Yes, something else we don't want. All right, so I'm going to bring back my circle, and I'm going to bring in this stamp, which actually is a really beautiful image when it's stamped. I like this one a lot. And I'm going to ink it up with my pale papaya ink. I'm actually going to put the stamp on my table and bring the ink pad to the stamp, which I don't normally do, but this is such a large stamp that it's easier to ink it all over by doing it that way around. I'm going to stamp off once, just take some of that ink off, and then I'm going to stamp across my circle. And I've taken some of the ink off because I'm actually going to over stamp this with my sentiment. This is Old Olive ink, which is the green that features everywhere else on here. So yes, it's another thank you, because that's what I need. I've just tilted that as I put it in the ink pad. Let me just make sure I haven't got loads of ink there, just in case I wobble. And then I'm going to stamp that across. So that's my stamped circle. Try and hold it straight for you. Okay, and then that is just going to go on there. I think I may have put a green fingerprint there. That'll teach me to clean my stamps using my hands, won't it? But as it's on a leaf, I think I can get away with that. There we are. Now it's slightly off this edge, and I really like being able to see that curve against the green, but I'm not going to put a dimensional under it because it's really just a tiny bit off the edge, and I think that will be fine without any extra support. What I am looking for are my sea glass shapes, which are here somewhere. There they are. And I think probably I'm going to use, oops, lost one there. Let's pop that back. I'm going to use the yellower green on there. I think, yeah, that one's too blue a green for the Old Olive. I'm just going to just randomly add, do 3, because odd numbers are always good, aren't they? 3 of those. And then all that's missing is my insert, which I have over here. Hang on a minute, that's another shape there. That one doesn't want to stay on the backing. There we are, let's put that back. And once again, I'm just going to stamp that lovely large leaf on my insert. Stamp off once, just so it's not too dark in there. And there we are. Okay, pop the insert into my card and then it's done. That's 3 cards we've made this afternoon. I didn't ask if anybody was crafting along this afternoon. I know sometimes people craft along and make what I make. Sometimes you craft your own things. All right, so let me lift that up to show you. So thank you so much for the heart, that's much appreciated. And then here is another one which is very nearly the same. I've used different colours on this. Here I cut a piece of the vellum exactly the same size as the card and I glued it to the card first, and I'll show you how I did that in just a moment. But other than that, it's exactly the same. Oh no, and I also stamped that small leaf stamp onto my patterned paper. So this patterned paper had a very subtle pattern. If I lift it up, hopefully you can see. It's actually got writing on its script, but it's very pale and indistinct. And I just stamped impaled papaya with that little heart-shaped leaf stamp, just to add a little bit more to the background. Other than that, it's the same card. But to glue that vellum down, obviously I could put glue behind where this circle goes and it wouldn't show through the vellum. But elsewhere, if you're wanting to glue vellum invisibly, and I haven't got a scrap of vellum here to show you, so I'll just use a bit of paper just to give you a for instance. You want a silicone craft mat, a scrap of sponge, you can use any kind of sponge, just a little bit, and then you want some of this multi-purpose glue, and I keep this in a box labelled glue because it will be sticky afterwards, but you can reuse these multiple times. So I'm just going to pounce my sponge to pick up the glue in a nice thin layer on the sponge, and then I would put my vellum down and I would just go down and up, down and up, down and up, so a pouncing action all over my vellum, picking up more glue as needed. And what this does, and I don't know whether it will show or not, but it puts a really, really fine coating of glue all over. I don't think that's showing at all, is it? I'm trying to tilt it, but white or transparent glue on white paper is never really going to be good visually, is it? Once you've covered your vellum, you can then just stick it down and press it well. And because you've got this fine even coating all over rather than strips of tape or dabs of glue, that's pretty much invisible, and that's what I did here to glue my vellum to a same sized piece of white card. And the beauty of these craft sheets is once the glue you put on there has dried, you can just rub over with your finger, and because it's a rubber based glue, it just rolls off like that. There you go. Now my craft sheet is clean, and so is my worktop isn't clean, but it's not gluey anyway. All right, so let me pull in all 3 cards that I've made with you. I'll move the measurements. If anybody wants those again, let me know. So Belinda's been crafting. She's been working on her samples of new products. So because Belinda is a demonstrator on my team, she has got some of the things from the new catalogue early. So she's been playing with those. I shall look forward to seeing those, Belinda. Marjorie, you're welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed some of my ideas. There we are. Actually, let me turn my grid paper over because it is really, really inky. There we are. That's better. So 3 different card ideas, and order one of the sweet samplers and you'll get card that coordinates with the paper. You'll get some of the vellum, some of the ribbon, and you'll get some of the sea glass shapes as well. If you'd like to order one of those, then just drop me an email before next Friday, the 29th of April. And it's £13 if you can collect from me, £15.50 if you'd like me to post it, and I can send you details of payment when I reply to your email. All right, so let me cover you over, turn you back up towards me, and I will just say a quick goodbye. And I'm also going to remove that washi tape so I don't pull everything over when I move my phone. Okay, this is usually a quicker process than the reverse. There we are. Okay, I'm back. So thank you ever so much for joining me today. It's been lovely to spend time with you if you've been here live. If you're watching this later, which is always a slightly weird thing to be saying because obviously that's in the future and we haven't got there yet. But if you're watching this on the recording here or on YouTube, thank you so much for joining me for that as well. Now next week I am going to be making cards using scraps. I've done this before and I'll be doing it again because I've got more scraps. I'm sure you've got lots and lots of scraps. Maybe you're like me and you keep some scraps and you throw some away because otherwise your room would be entirely filled with scraps, or maybe you keep everything. But either way, I'll be making some things with scraps. So turn up next week with your scraps at hand and I will try and help you make use of them. I hope you have a lovely weekend, whatever you're doing, and I'll look forward to seeing you again next week, 2 o'clock next Friday. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.